Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to Graceful Growth Motivation, your go to place for growth and inspiration. Today, we are going to discuss about how God always warns us before we make mistakes in our life, and how divine guidance steers our life always towards our true purpose. I hope this discussion ignites sparks of insight and leave you wondering. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5 and 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him and he will make your paths straight." For in the depths of our hearts, we carry an innate knowing that God, in his infinite wisdom and boundless love, always warns us before we make any mistakes. Like a loving parent who gently cautions their child, he whispers through the winds of intuition, the stirring of our conscience and the signs that grace our path. These divine warnings are not meant to restrict us, but to protect us, steering us away from treacherous paths and guiding us towards the radiant light of our true purpose. As we tune our hearts to the frequency of his divine messages, we discover a profound truth that God's guidance is ever present, a lighthouse illuminating our way through the stormy seas of life. God's warning come in various forms, tailored to our individual circumstances. These signs can be subtle or obvious, but they are always present for those who are willing to pay attention. God often speaks us through our inner voice, guiding us towards choices aligned with our higher purpose. When faced with a decision, take a moment to reflect, as it may be God's way of warning or directing you. Dreams have long been regarded as a means through which divine messages are delivered. Pay attention to the symbols and messages within your dreams, as they may contain important guidance or cautionary signs. God's warning often prompts us to pause and reflect on our actions and decisions. This self-reflection allows us to evaluate our motives, intentions, and the potential consequences of our choices. Through introspection, we gain clarity and make more conscious decisions. Regret and remorse can burden our hearts and hinder our personal growth. By heeding God's warnings, we can avoid actions that may lead to regret and remorse later on. Making choices in alignment with divine guidance helps us lead a life filled with purpose and joy. Once upon a time, in the land of Egypt, the Israelites were enslaved and oppressed by the Pharaoh. God had heard their cries for help and decided to send a deliverer to free them from their bondage. He chose a man named Moses for this great task. Moses was born to an Israelite family, but was raised as an Egyptian prince in Pharaoh's palace. One day, as Moses grew older, he witnessed an Egyptian taskmaster cruelly beating an Israelite slave. Filled with anger, Moses struck down the Egyptian and buried him in the sand, and he became fearful in his life. He fled Egypt and settled in the land of Midian. There, he married Zipporah, the daughter of a Midianite priest, and started a new life as a shepherd. Meanwhile, back in Egypt, the Israelites continued to suffer under the harsh rule of Pharaoh. God saw their affliction and spoke to Moses through a burning bush on Mount Horeb. He called Moses by name and warned him of his divine presence, instructing him to return to Egypt and lead the Israelites out of slavery. But Moses hesitated and expressed his doubts, questioning his own ability to fulfill this monumental task. God reassured Moses that he would be with him every step of the way, providing signs and wonders to convince both the Israelites and Pharaoh of his power. Despite God's warning and promises, Moses still doubted himself. He questioned what he should do if the Israelites did not believe him or listen to his message. In response, God equipped Moses with miraculous signs to perform, such as turning his staff into a snake and making his hand leprous and then healing it. Moses still felt inadequate and pleaded to God to send someone else. But God's patience prevailed. He appointed Moses' brother Aaron to be his spokesperson, supporting Moses in his mission. Together, they returned to Egypt, carrying the message of God's deliverance. Upon their arrival, Moses and Aaron confronted Pharaoh, demanding the release of the Israelites. Pharaoh, however, stubbornly refused and even increased the workload on the Israelites. In response, God unleashed a series of 10 plagues upon Egypt, each one more devastating than the last. These plagues served as both warnings to Pharaoh and opportunities for him to relent and free the Israelites. The plagues included turning the Nile River into blood, infestations of frogs, gnats, and locusts, the death of livestock, and even the death of firstborn in every Egyptian household. Through these plagues, God demonstrated his power and his willingness to warn and provide an escape route for the Egyptians if they choose to listen. However, Pharaoh's heart remained hardened, and it wasn't until the final plague, the death of the firstborn, that he finally relented and let the Israelites go. The story of Moses showcases God's constant warnings and opportunities for repentance and redemption. In the end, God's warning and messages proved true, and the Israelites were freed from their slavery in Egypt. This story serves as a powerful reminder that God always warns us before we make mistakes, giving us the opportunity to change our course and find redemption.